Hey everybody, welcome to Outlier on Air, the show that interviews founders, disruptors, and mavens. We're here with Forte Strong. We're excited to get to know these guys. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having us, Ever. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Matthew, tell us a little bit about Forte Strong.
Forte Strong is basically a failure to launch company that works with young adult men. So typically between the age ranges of 18 and 26 years old who are struggling to leave the nest. So they usually live in mom and dad's basement or, somewhere in the house and just are leading unproductive lives. They're good guys, they're smart, they're capable, but they're stuck in a rut. And so they need some assistance in becoming self-reliant and independent. And so that's what Forte Strong does.
We'll just get started. When did you start Forte Strong?
Oh, we started Forte Strong about a little over 3 years ago. I've been doing this for over 14 years now. I actually started when I was in the Marine Corps, started to kind of do this stuff where I was working with youth and kind of, getting them to a better place. And we saw a huge need out there where we had young men who were really timid and anxious, didn't have a lot of experience, kind of latchkey kids. And they didn't have any experience to be successful in the real world, and there was no program out there or any kind of institution to help them get there. There were drug, rehab kind of programs and things like that, and so that's where they were going to try to get these leadership skills and the experience to be independent, to be successful, and it was a really lethal combination. So we saw the need immediately, and it didn't take us too long before we just decided we have to do something about this. And that's how, Forte Strong got started.
So I've known you guys for about a year now. I well-educated, well-trained in the Marine Corps. You guys can be doing anything in the world. You guys could have started another company doing anything. Why this?
Okay, so going back to the Marine Corps, I loved being a Marine. But when I worked with, I'd work with these youth during my off time, and I actually loved that more than being a Marine. I mean, I loved being a Marine, but I as soon as I started doing that, I knew this is what I wanted to do for my entire life. I just knew that's what I wanted to do. So I can't see myself doing anything else but this.
But why men? I mean, I'm assuming are there women that are young ladies out there that are struggling with kind of failure to launch?
Yeah, there are. But if you look at it, across the board, and we kind of pride ourselves on the research that we do, and being pioneers in this field or this failure to launch syndrome and what causes it. And if you look at the numbers, women are succeeding way more than men are nowadays. Really? They're getting more degrees. They're getting more graduate degrees. The population of females is higher at most given universities around the country. And so it's something that's primarily affecting young men at this point. It does affect young women, and those numbers are increasing as well. But we wanted to really focus on the core issue and help to build, this next generation of strong men. And so, as Brooke mentioned, it's just something that we're very driven and passionate about. It's a conversation that needs to be had, nationwide and worldwide to address, the cause of this issue, and not only that, but because people are always going to fail to launch, but what we can do to help improve the lifestyle of these young men so that they're more active in their communities, that they're contributing more in their families and their relationships, and they're really making some solid headway in life, setting goals.
So is this we're more aware of it, and I don't know if it's because I know you guys or the information on the internet and stuff. Is this happening more often? Or has this always been the case with young men failing to get out of the house and doing their own thing?
No, it's definitely a kind of a newer thing. I mean, a lot of it, comes about with just technology, where parents don't have to be as involved as they used to be, because now you can put a computer screen or a TV in front of a kid,
so that's
and they
babysitter,
they can be entertained for hours. And a lot of times, especially with this economy, parents are doing the best that they can. Most parents, both mom and dad, are working, so that leaves Jill and Billy at home to his own devices. He doesn't really have a lot of guidance or a lot of leadership or experience or really anyone there kind of tutoring him or mentoring him. So hopefully there's uncles, there's pastors, there's coaches and other things like that kind of like help out. But for guys who are not really active in life, whether that's sports or school or clubs or something like that, by the time they're 18, really successful parents are thinking, well, I was successful. You should just kind of like be able to do this on your own. I mean, it should just come naturally. It's in your genes. But if the experience isn't there, if the knowledge isn't there, if the education's not there, then they can't do it. Usually they'll go to college. They'll fail out. They'll go to college again. They'll fail out again. There's a lot of history behind doing something and then failing or not finishing something or quitting something, and parents don't know what to do. They're kind of helpless.
So having experience with some of the, you call them students,
we call them students.
So having experience with your students, since we kind of shared an office building here a little while ago, I was surprised. These guys, they're bright kids, right?
Extremely intelligent. And that's the thing. And I think that's why, a lot of parents think, well, what's going on? Because I know my son is extremely intelligent, which he is. They're very, very, very book smart, but they're not very street smart. They don't know how to use that education and that knowledge in the real world. And that's kind of where we come in.
So are you seeing any kind of anxiety issues, social anxiety, that kind of stuff?
Tons of anxiety issues. Absolutely. We've had students come here where they couldn't actually have a phone conversation with someone. I mean, not even face to face, calling someone on the phone and talking about insurance or anything. It was like, can I do it online?
Oh, really?
Can I text? Because I don't feel comfortable having that conversation with someone. I don't feel comfortable being vulnerable because their self-esteem and their confidence was that low.
And when you're talking about, your nonverbal communication, it was really, really awkward or non-existent. We had young men who would come and you talk to them face to face and they would just kind of look at the floor and be really nervous and anxious and, throw these signals that weren't illustrating confidence. And so, those type of things are really essential when you're going out there and you're trying to find a job and trying to, meet members of the opposite sex and just basically be an active member in society. And so, so I think what's really attractive about Forte Strong is we also address these practical life skills, because like Brooke said, they're super intelligent. I mean, they can, tell you about these advanced, chemical experiments and whatever else it is. But when it comes to actually, a real world conversation or a real world application, they're kind of stuck.
So let's get into the details of that. I'm a parent. I'm thinking about putting my son into your program or one of your programs. What are the details? What do I need to know as a parent? What is my son going to expect for the next, you're saying 6 months?
6 months.
What's going to happen?
How
are you going to help him graduate?
A lot of opportunities, a lot of guidance, and a lot of structure. So those are the three things that we talk about. And usually there's either one, two, or all three that don't exist back at home. There's very little guidance. There's very little structure that's going on. And that's kind of where we come in. So it's difficult. I mean, we let all of our guys know that it's not going to be, rainbows when they get here. It's going to be difficult. But at the same time, to a certain degree, that's kind of the selling point, because a lot of these guys really they want someone to be honest with them and just be real, with them. Hey, it's going to be hard, but we're going to be here for you, and we have a system set up in place so you can be successful. But a lot of it comes with making mistakes. And that's one of the things that we talk about all the time with our guys is we want you to make mistakes, because there's this huge, I don't want to make a mistake. And they've got really successful parents, and they feel like somehow a mistake is attached to their self-worth, how they see themselves. The first time that our students make a mistake, we will announce it and we're like, high five. Great, you learned something. Fantastic. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Why are we looking at it as though it's a bad thing? Why aren't we making more mistakes? Why aren't you going out there and making more mistakes so you can progress? Because you can't progress without making them. So it's kind of changing their mindset on how they see what a mistake means to them.
So what does a typical day look like for one of the students, Matthew?
Well, it kind of depends on where they're at in the program. So there's a little more hand-holding at first when they first arrive. We do a series of assessments so we kind of understand a little bit more about what the motives are behind the decisions that they make, the type of person they are, their behavioral characteristics and traits. And what that does is it allows our coaches to approach them and speak to them on the level that they'll be most receptive, to receive that feedback and that coaching. So at first, we're setting up the logistics. All of our young men drive scooters, so they're mobile and they can take advantage of social, academic,
nice.
and occupational opportunities. So if you see a big, a mob, a big scooter gang rolling around town, it's probably us.
And I like that. They take care of the scooter. They're like doing everything, right? I mean, if something breaks down, I've seen them out there with their little tools trying to fix it themselves. I'm assuming that's the first time for a lot of these guys that are actually working with their hands.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the idea is this is your responsibility, and it's the scooters are pretty reliable, and really what we're doing to it is just making sure that that the brakes work, that there's sufficient pressure in the tires, and changing the oil every now and then. But it's something that's new to them, and they can take ownership over and feel pride, feel accomplished and pride in what they're doing and what they're taking care of. And it really is awesome when we all cruise around on scooters. And Brooke and I, like, even though we're the owners of the company, we ride scooters.
Nice.
And one thing that we tell the guys when they first arrive is, this is the things that we teach here at Forte Strong can apply to anybody. And we're not going to ask you to do something that we wouldn't do ourselves. Whether it's balancing our checkbook or communicating with other people. So we always say, if you have a question, like ask us, we'll show you how to do it. So we ride scooters too.
So the two of you are co-owners, co-founders of Forte Strong.
Yeah.
What's the breakdown? So it's the two of you, owners. You guys are overseeing a lot of these things, interacting with the boys. Psychologists, what tell us about this?
Yeah, we have therapists, we have coaches, we have mentors, we have like the whole shebang, a really good mix. So the therapists obviously handle more of the therapy side of things. There's certain things that we're just not going to get into, that we're just not qualified to discuss, and that's where the therapists come in. Same thing with the mentors. We want to create as many relationships as possible with them and other people. The more comfortable that they can be with other people, the better. The more Matt said, socially awkward. That's kind of the term that I would use when they get here. So the more comfortable, so we normalize everything. Everything. It's just kind of normalized. We don't make it a big deal, and I think sometimes parents can. Especially moms can make it a big deal, like, oh my gosh, like, are you okay? Can I
do that for you?
Is everything okay? And ours is like, it's not a big deal. It's okay. And if you've ever been in a situation where it's a little bit risky, but you're around people who are really confident, they're just kind of low key, you feel like comfortable, but when you're in that same situation and you're around people who are really nervous, and kind of twitchy, sure, you start to feel like uncomfortable around those people. And it's the same thing with these young men when they're around other people who are confident, and have a lot of self-esteem and pride and leadership skills. They naturally exude or kind of borrow a little bit of that. They feel more confident when they're around confident people. They feel more extroverted when they're around extroverted people. So the more that we can do that, the better. So absolutely, the more the merrier. That goes for anyone that's interested in helping assist with these young men. We want to talk to them. We do like asking experts. We bring cooks to the table, so they're obviously learning how to cook for themselves. And
you had a clown a little while ago, right? What was this?
For Halloween.
Oh, for Halloween.
Yeah. We had someone that came in who was like a master makeup guy. And he was for Halloween, he was teaching how to do. It was this clown. He was like super scary clown, and the guys were like, fascinated that someone could do this kind of work and get paid for it. Like this could be a profession. And so a lot of times we'll do that as well. We'll kind of blow the top of what they think is possible. It's like just yesterday we did a whiteboard animation with Jace Vernon. Nice. So for them to see like you can make money. Making some kind of an animation off a whiteboard and how that got started and everything. So we really want to expand their minds. Like you don't have to necessarily work at Wendy's. You don't have to work at Target. You don't have to go the mainstream. What's the path that you want to take? And let's help you get there. Whether that, no matter what that is, let's help you get there.
And you have boys coming in from all over the U.S.?
And where the world, actually.
The world.
Yeah.
And so when they come in, your mentors, how often are they seeing them? How much interaction are they having with the two of you?
Every single day.
Every day?
Every single day.
Really?
Yeah. It's kind of like a family.
Weekends? I mean,
Weekends too.
You guys have families?
We have families, yes.
And
yeah,
so, I mean, this is more than a full-time job. Is there any kind of friction there at home sometimes with spending so much time with boys?
Yeah, it kind of, what we try to do is we try to spread it out, so that like, for example, every weekend, Brooke's not working or I'm not working or one of the other guys, but it's important for all of us because we have such a cohesive kind of, brotherhood going on there that we all have, some level of involvement with the guys. And so, we'll try to rotate weekends, but during the course of the week, we're all here.
Sure.
And what's great about our team and our network of advisors and coaches and mentors is, I can have a student come up to me and say, hey, I'm really interested in being a surgeon. Well, obviously, I have no clue what's involved with being a surgeon, but I do know people who do.
Nice. And
so they can sit down one-on-one and have that conversation, and figure out what's involved with that. But, on our personal family lives, I think our wives support what we do. They see the passion that we have, and there is nothing better in this world than helping other people succeed. That's just I mean, I derive no greater joy in life than watching and being a part of helping somebody progress from a level down here to something much greater. To helping them realize their potential. It's an amazing process.
So you guys have young families? I know you have kids, Matthew.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
2-month-old.
2-month-old. Nice.
So
nice. So how you think this is preparing you for fatherhood and kind of, I don't know if mentoring your own kids, but kind of helping them develop into the young men.
Well, I don't know. I think Matt has the same experience, but then you have family knows what you do, and then you have family calling you up and saying, "Hey, I've got this problem.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do about it."
Yeah.
And you realize that it's not just with failure to launch, families or failure to launch guys. I mean, it's like everybody feels to some degree like helpless with some kind of situation that they just don't know exactly how to deal with it. And it doesn't mean that we have the answers to everything, but I think we have a really core foundation of what really helps, things get better. And that, communication is huge. The ability to communicate, to understand someone, to empathize with someone is just, it's going to be so beneficial, And those are a lot of the things that we talk about is, those parents being able to communicate effectively with their son and vice versa.
You started 2 years ago?
We actually started in third quarter of 2011.
With how many boys?
One? I mean, we started with one.
It was one that
one guy.
Yeah, it was one guy.
And right now, how many do you have in the program?
Great question. It kind of fluctuates because our enrollment somewhat correlates with the university semester systems, and so because we're right in kind of the end of the winter semester, our enrollment's down. I think we've got 9 guys right now, and typically towards the beginning of the year we'll get another influx of guys, and so we're typically working anywhere with between 8 and 15 guys.
And so you can get up to 15 and still feel comfortable. Anything after that, you'd have to bring in more mentors, or how does that work?
Yeah, we the way that it works is obviously our business model is scalable, and we want to help as many young men as we can. But one of the main things that helps Forte Strong be successful is hiring the right coaches, people who are driven, who are empathetic, who can see the type of help that somebody needs. Not what the world wants or what the expectation is, but the true help that somebody needs.
So you've been doing this for a little while now. Have you hired coaches that kind of weren't right for the program?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And
how'd that go?
It was tough. It was tough.
Did you notice right away? Or
not always. I think we're getting better with the interview process. I mean, if they have a successful history saying that they are A players, it's usually going to be pretty good. But then every once in a while you'll have guys who apply who the resume is not exactly what it's not really what it should be. Sure. But usually the great thing about Forte Strong is that we're all in it as a team. We don't see each other as individuals in a common goal, but rather as a team in a common goal. So we're willing to sacrifice whatever needs to happen for the greater good of the team. And so a lot of times that can be hard, for coaches, because I think most of the time it doesn't work that way in the business world. It's not like, oh yeah, my contribution might not equate to more pay personally. It might equate to more revenue for the company, and I'm just going to trust that in turn will help me, And so that can be difficult for people, if their contributions are more from a team aspect than from an individual aspect. That can be sometimes, kind of difficult.
So, absolutely. So are you looking for alpha males? I mean, like who you look? It's somebody has to kind of take control of.
Absolutely, someone with a lot of confidence. And the funny thing is that,
but still compassionate and
absolutely.
Right.
That's difficult.
The type A actually players we usually don't want.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the reason
I thought it'd be military, that kind of stuff.
Well,
that would be perfect for this kind of stuff, but I guess not.
There is such a thing as being able to have the discipline and that structure mindset of someone from the military without being the type A. Without being the one that's I'm just going to get it done. Because these guys are really good at being Indians. They're not good at being chiefs.
Sure.
So being, taking that military mindset and saying, well, I'll be the chief and you'll continue to be the Indian, just do what I tell you to do, is not going to help them. It doesn't help them problem solve. It doesn't help them, be able to experience life in their own, to be an autonomous person. So our job really is to take a step back and help the parents take a step back. Because oftentimes parents are usually the type A's.
Yeah.
And
really?
it doesn't work. And a lot of their other children are very successful, just like they're successful, but then they have a son that's maybe a little bit more timid, maybe a little bit more of an introvert, that he just doesn't perceive the world in the same way. He doesn't go about things the same way as they do. And so that mentality of, hey, just do what I say, a lot of times they'll do it, but there's no reasoning behind it other than that's what they were told. So when they go to college, there's no reason that they go other than that's what my parents told me to, or that's what's expected of me. And then when they run into a hard situation and they go, I got an F, or my girlfriend broke up with me, or something happened, what do I have to fall back on? Why am I doing this? Oh yeah, I remember. I'm doing this for mom and dad.
Nice.
And it just doesn't work. It doesn't motivate them to stay in the game and finish what they started. So what do? They fail out, and they usually, end up moving back home in the basement and just not going back home again. So it's someone that says, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to college? If you don't want to go to college, that's okay. What do you want to do? And go from there, and have them take more of a the decision making, be more involved in the decision making process. That's our goal. So a coach that goes, hey, I'm gonna,
might not work.
Doesn't work very often for our niche of guys. It's usually the guy that can take a step back, allow them to feel a little uncomfortable, and say, what do you want to do? And a lot of times they don't know. That's where they come. It's like, I don't know. Well, that's why you're here. So let's start.
So a couple of more questions before we get into the nuts and bolts of the actual business. So you have about how many, 9 boys right now in the program? Mm-hmm. Total, how many have you had since you started?
Oh.
Yeah, over 50.
Over 50.
Yeah.
And so, might be difficult to answer. Out of that 50, what percentage do you feel they kind of got it, graduated, went home, and you feel comfortable about what they experienced here, and how many kind of flamed out? I guess
I would say the ones where the parents were on board the entire way, 100%.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So it's you guys plus parents helping.
Absolutely. Oh, it's a team, because we don't know these guys like the parents know. We really not only empower our students, but empower the parents to feel like they're more in control. Some of them don't even know that what they're doing could be actually harmful or devastating, to the progress of their son. And until we explain that, to them in a way that makes sense, nothing's going to change.
So high success rate with the boys coming through the program. Tell me about some of the boys that haven't succeeded, other than the parents maybe not being 100% on board. What are some of the other things that are keeping the boys from getting to that next level?
Right. I think when we first got started, we've obviously learned and evolved to become a better, more complete business. But, one thing that happened when we first got started is we didn't have a 6-month commitment. Okay. We do. The program is a 6-month commitment. So if the son leaves early or the parents pull him out early or whatever, they're still responsible for those 6 months. We plan so many things in advance and put so much effort into teaching this small group of men that, we need to rely on that. And so what happened when we first got started is we'd have young men that were really starting kind of like at the bottom of the barrel. They were just really stuck in a rut. And, after a couple months, wow, Johnny's got a job and he's met people and he's calling me and he's really happy. He sounds excited about what's going on. Yeah, he's cured. I don't need anything anymore. Thanks, guys. We're done. And, and I understand that. We live in a society where it's like, hey, I want. Everything's fast food, right? But the problem is, it's not a long enough time for these young men to really internalize these life skills that we're teaching. It's not enough time for them to practice and develop healthy habits that are going to continue on long term. And so, the success rate of those first few students who, hey, we're done and see you later, we'd call them a few months later and it didn't really work out for them. But through our process and through, our research and everything else, 6 months is a short enough time period where it's really not going to throw a wrench in your long-term goals, but it's a long enough time period where you can develop some healthy habits, internalize these life skills, and be successful long-term.
So now that you've started the 6-month program, have you had boys quit on you or have parents pull them out?
They definitely, both the students and the parents want to quit sometimes. Just like, I mentioned the college. Anything that you do, whether it's a job or something, you kind of reach that point where you're just like, this is hard.
Yeah.
This is difficult. And it's our job to say there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Just trust us that it's going to be okay. Because it's kind of a walk of faith. The parents have never tried a lot of the techniques that we're teaching. They don't know that they're going to work. They've always...
They have to buy in or else
they have to buy in. And to a certain degree, that can be really scary because parents can often become, the bad guy.
Sure. I remember a conversation we had a few months ago. You're saying sometimes we have to, you feel like you're teaching and training the parents as well to help these young men, right? It's not just the men; it's the parents that you have to help.
Yeah, and the thing is what we're really doing. If you want to look at the psychology of what we're doing with the relationship between the son and the parent, is we're disrupting a lot of negative behaviors or behaviors or dynamics that aren't conducive to a healthy relationship. And it's hard because we're creatures of habit. As humans, we just do what we do and don't even think about it half the time. And so when you have a son who's 22 years old, let's say. This is a dynamic that's been developed over a couple decades, and it's hard to break that dynamic, for the parents and for the son sometimes. It's very liberating, for both the parents to say, oh, I can take a step back. I can allow my son to experience some of the emotions that are natural or natural consequences of decisions that he makes. I can step back and I can still love him and I can still support him, but let him feel the anxiety or whatever it is with making certain decisions. That's crucial for us as human beings to grow up. We need to hit certain developmental milestones. And so when we're trying to pack that into a 6-month, condensed package, it can be a little bit stressful for the parents. But again, at the end, this light at the end of the tunnel that Brook's referring to is very, it's very free feeling, both for the student and for the parents.
Let's get into the business side of it a little bit. Your co-founders. Brooke, why did you decide to work with Matthew?
I couldn't have done it without him, to be honest with you. I had a lot of experience under my belt when it came to working with young people, working with parents in this field. But I really didn't know really anything about business.
Really?
And for me to have done it on my own would have been disastrous. Because, I'll be honest, I got into this and I was like, Matt, I want everyone to be able to come to Forte Strong. So we just need to make it so cheap that literally, because my goal is to help as many people as possible. Matt can tell you it should probably be a little bit more about money. I'm not going to lie, but that's not how my mind works. My mind works in what motivates me is not money. What motivates me is how many people can I help?
Very nice.
So I need him to go, whoa, for us to help more people, we're going to have to do this.
Just think about it for a sec.
Trust that. I'm going to have to trust that he knows the business aspect. And so we rely on each other. We go back and forth.
Matt, the same question. Why did you decide to work with Brooke?
Yeah, Brooke's got, an amazing, resume of experience, specifically working with young adult men. And so, when I stepped into the picture, I come from a split family, and so mentors and male figures, role models were very important in my development as I grew up. And I've always had a desire to pass that on. And so when I came in contact with Brook, I come from a family that's very law enforcement, military minded. We connected, I think, on that level primarily. And then when I saw, the experience that he had, I was like, wow, you've got a lot to offer, And so if we can kind of combine forces, I think we can really, do some good in the world.
And so just like with any other relationship, startups are hard, right?
Absolutely.
Business is difficult. I'm assuming there's been a time or two when you guys have disagreed on how to move forward. Yeah. What happens then?
Yeah.
How do you overcome that?
I think we have our disagreements, but it doesn't last very long. I think we make mistakes, just like and we're honest about it and transparent, not only with our parents but with our students. And a lot of times, to kind of get off topic, parents will say, "Well, I can't believe you did this," and it's like we're trying to emulate what it means to be a real person. For us not to make mistakes is that's not realistic, but what we can do is you can use it as a teaching moment. So we can teach that our students and the parents how we handle mistakes when we make them, because we're going to make them. And it's definitely happened. And we've made mistakes as well, where I'm like, Matt's like, But, and we do disagree from time to time, but I don't think we let it get in the way of the real goal. And I think that goes back to that whole team concept, is like, you have to trust one another. If trust is not there, it's just not going to work. You might as well not even have a co-founder, just do it yourself.
Sure.
So it's worked out great so far.
Have you been profitable from day one?
Well, it took a little while. So
living off our savings, pretty much for a little bit.
So typical startup journey here.
Well, but here's the thing: we tried to go the route of let's get some funding, let's do this, and it was such a new concept that it scared a lot of people.
Did it really?
And especially when we said, look, we want to create a goal of 6 months. That's never been done before, and so it was really intimidating for other people who done this type of work before. And from a financial standpoint, Brook being in the military, I looked immediately into grants and different opportunities where we could get some funding and at a reasonable rate or whatever. And we met all the requirements for a veteran startup loan, as a micro loan. So
did it happen?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Absolutely not. And there is so much garbage out there that is just bureaucratic lip service. It's just, hey, we have these programs. The government wants everybody to think that everybody can succeed with these programs that they're implementing, but really there are so many, there's so much red tape and loopholes to cut through that it is absolutely impossible. So, Brook had perfect credit. I've still got student loans, so my credit wasn't, optimal. And we met all those requirements. We applied through, the approved credit unions and everything else. And what they told us? Oh, sorry, you have to have at least half down.
Oh, nice.
If I had half down, I wouldn't be needing a loan from you, Thank you very much. And so, so it got started off of our meager savings. And there is a couple who means a great deal to us. We previously worked with their son and coached their son and told them what we were doing, and they really believed in our direction and gave us a little help too financially to get started.
Very nice. What so is most of your revenue, if not all your revenue, coming in from tuition?
At this point, we have done some supplemental coaching, workshops. I do a lot of public speaking and stuff, but I try to keep that more on an educational level on how, again, we can continue, this conversation and make people aware and destigmatize, the fact that, people are going to fail to launch. It crosses all socioeconomic demographics and barriers, and it affects everybody. We've all got a neighbor or a grandson or an uncle or somebody who is failing to launch, and so most of it is through tuition.
And so, what is revenue wise? What does 2014 look like?
Very promising, very promising. We've got some real real solid milestones that we've been working on this year that are going to be met in the upcoming year.
So this was your second full year?
Third full year.
Third
full year.
Okay.
Yep.
So what's next? What does the next 5 years look like?
Nonprofit for me. Matt already knows this, and he helps kind of put the brakes on a little bit. But my heart's always been like, because once again, how do I help more people? How do I make this accessible for more people? Because when you have the level of experience, and the quality of coaches that we have, and mentors and chefs and everything that goes in with it, it can get really pricey. Sure. But I know, Matt said it. It's an issue. It's an epidemic right now, and so. What about the families that can't afford this kind of stuff? I know that there's plenty of businesses and corporations that would love to get involved, and so you
want to go the nonprofit route?
I would love to go.
Matthew,
we would still keep.
Well, what we would do, and we've talked about this extensively, is to be able to help more people. We would create a nonprofit that could receive generous donations, because from time to time we will have parents who we've helped out a lot. We've helped their families, and they'll donate to the cause. Now, if we had a nonprofit, it would be a little bit more win-win for people to be able to donate, and for us as well.
Very nice.
That is a nonprofit that could receive this funding, so that when we do get a call from somebody who can't afford the program, there is some money in the nonprofit that would be able to help, the for-profit, if that makes sense. And so that's one thing we're doing. The other thing that we're doing is in the new year we're getting to the point where we'll actually be able to accept insurance. So people, again, who can't afford it but do have insurance will be able to use their insurance to get their son the help that they need.
So 2015, how many students are you expecting? What's the goal?
By the end, if my numbers are correct so far, because I've done research and talked to other people who run similar businesses, if we can get to the point where we do have the nonprofit and we do are accepting insurance, then it should actually increase our profitability. Not only our profitability, but our ability to help more guys. Our enrollment should increase by about 450%.
Really?
Yeah.
You ready for that?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been gearing up to do. Is to
That's
really. It's absolutely huge. Yeah.
And what's the goal is to stay here in St. George? It's a perfect spot for the things that you guys are doing.
We've talked about this, and I'll let Matt.
Yeah. So we want to get to the point where we have a very large number here, but it's not too large that we're not providing a quality service, for these young men. It is so individualized what we do that we can't get too big for our britches, so to speak, in any one location. And so the thought process is to get to a larger number, than 15 guys, but still, a healthy number. We can provide this quality coaching. And then once we can maintain that level, is to actually expand to other parts of the country.
Anywhere.
Florida, anywhere that you can ride a scooter.
Anywhere that you can ride a scooter year round. You got to ride.
Round.
Yep. Year round.
There are plenty of places.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we have a lot of listeners and people that watch the show that are working 9 to 5. They're looking to kind of jump out and do their first entrepreneurial venture. What kind of advice do you have for these guys? You guys, you're in the military. You graduated from school. Was this your first? This wasn't your first.
No.
Go round.
This wasn't my first rodeo with companies. I just feel like I'm wired for business, and it's something that I'm passionate about. And a business with a purpose is what really drives me. And so I love the whole development process of planting that seed and watching it grow into something that other people can harvest and take advantage of.
So just like your boys, these guys that are thinking, well, should I quit this job to start this company that I'm passionate about? What advice would you give them?
Well,
have a savings.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Have something
to fall back on.
Absolutely.
For a while.
Yeah. Because it's going to be a risk. It's going to be a risk, and it's going to be a lot more of a risk when you don't have something in place. Not just a plan, but some financial capital to help you.
Did you guys? Were you guys working on this while you still had full-time jobs somewhere else? Or did you start this?
I actually just left.
Did you?
It was like I went living completely on my savings, but I was skimping everywhere I could, everywhere else in my just daily life, from eating to insurance to riding a scooter to whatever I had to do to make this a reality, to make Forte Strong a reality. I was doing.
Yeah.
So.
And when we first started, this idea was coalescing. I had a full-time job, as a marketing consultant, and I was traveling around, the Western United States, and every night at my hotel, I'd call Brook and we'd be on the phone for like 2 hours. How can we create a website? And we had to, really, it's really grassroots efforts of learning a little bit of coding and learning how to put together a website, which was really
like every
crappy.
other entrepreneur, just doing it yourself.
Absolutely. And if I could give, 2 pieces of advice to somebody, it would be educate yourself as much as possible, okay? Read as many books as you can, talk to as many experts as you can to at least have a base level of knowledge over what it is you're trying to accomplish. And then with that base level of knowledge, go for it. Because it's going to be scary, it's going to be intimidating, it's going to be hard, but you got to do it. Don't let that fear hold you back.
Yeah, I'd say don't do it alone. I would not. I mean, how often do I tell you? Maybe every other month. Matt, I could not have done this without you. You know what I mean? And it's so true. And the same goes with our other team. With the other coaches. I tell them as well. I mean, we could not be where we're at without you. Don't try to do it alone. I mean, there's just no reason to. You're not powerful and strong in everything. You have to understand where your weaknesses are and have someone that you trust make up for those weaknesses, because you can't do everything. I'm overwhelmed, and I mean, I can't even imagine doing the business aspect as well. Yeah.
So we have our audience watching this. I'm assuming we're going to have some parents that have either worked with you or thinking about working with you watch this. What's one thing you want them to know about you individually?
That our heart is in it. That what you see is what you get. So everything that we talk about transparency a lot with Forte Strong. I think sometimes the industry it's a little bit difficult to see what's really going on behind the scenes because parents are on the other side of the country or in another state. They don't know what's going on. They can only trust what the coaches are saying. I usually recommend to have parents come and students come. And in fact, many of our students will actually just come and try it out for like a weekend. We'll say, come and check it out. I mean, if you have any reservations, why not just come, give it a test drive. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's okay. I mean, we don't want to work with you if this doesn't fit. I mean, it would just be a lose-lose. We'd be wasting our time, you'd be wasting your time, parents would be wasting their time and money. So we want to make sure we go to great lengths to make sure it's a good fit. And so come out and visit,
and you can see that your heart's in it.
Absolutely. And talk to the other students. I mean, a lot of the times that's all that needs to happen. A new potential student will talk to the other students and say, no, tell me what's really going on. And they'll say, what you see is what you get, and here you go. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. Do you want to be Forte Strong? Do you have what it takes to be Forte Strong? And most of them go, I do. I want that. I want what I see from my peers, from this guy. I want what you have. And they'll come. They'll come. But some of them, that's difficult because change is difficult, and so some of them don't, come out and visit, and that's always tough. But we always, recommend that they come out and visit and get to know us
and get their hands dirty.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I love it. Yeah, Matthew, what our outliers listening, watching, what should we know about you?
I think I look at my own personal life, and I should have been a statistic. I come from a family that's been broken up several different times, and again, going back to the people that helped me to get where I am in my life, there's no other option than for us to succeed. There really isn't. We wake up in the morning, we're driven, we think about all of our students, independently, what individual things they need to be successful, and things will get better. They will get better.
Very nice. Where can we find you online?
www.fortestrong.com. That's definitely where you're gonna.
Are you active on social media?
Yes. Check out our Facebook page. It's awesome, and you'll get a real kind of bird's eye view of the type of activities that we're doing. Whether it's Ask an Expert or paintballing or whatever it is that we're doing at the time, you can kind of be involved with that.
Yeah.
And ask questions.
There's
as well.
Lots of videos as well on our website, so parents and both potential students can get an understanding of kind of what it's like from a student perspective to be at Forte Strong.
If so, we have a generous audience. If not necessarily these guys that have kids, they're going to send their out to see you guys. But if they want to help in any way, whether it's money or whatever, are you guys open to that? And how would they go about that?
Absolutely. Even if it's not money, There's a lot of parents that want to. I mean, I think there's a natural need in everybody to want to help other people.
Such a good cause
and,
too. Right?
And I think people are starting to really come to grips that young men right now are really starting to fall behind dangerously. I mean, it's really concerning. It's really kind of scary, and I think everyone's seeing it. These young men who just are not, they never get married. They live in their basement. Some of them never even, keep a job, and parents are constantly worrying about whether they're going to be productive and have a happy, successful, meaningful life. So get involved. Absolutely, call us, and actually a lot of times we reach out to them as well. Anything that we can do to help make this a priority, and help other businesses that are doing the same thing or along the same lines. Absolutely, we want to help each other.
Our number is 435-319-0004.
Perfect. Gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been a great interview.
Thank you so much for having us.
Keep up the good work. You guys are doing some amazing things.